Barak, Yahweh, Alon. Shalom, righteous family. Welcome back to True Talk. And this part two, breaking down Napah, I believe that's her name. Errors in the scriptures. And basically this is just the carnal mind versus the spiritual mind. So when I break this down, I want y'all to pay attention, because once she's finished talking and looking at it at a carnal way, in a fleshly way, and leaning on her own understanding, then by the grace of the Most High, when I give you spiritual aspect of it, the spiritual understanding and the wisdom and beauty and understanding of the structure, then you can see the difference in the trouble with having a carnal mind and going by your own understanding and letting the spirit teach you the structures and looking at it through a spiritual lens. So let's see what this young lady continue has to say.
Oh, I get it. Why these women were in certain circumstances raped, and they didn't have any type of personal recourse as the women today. See, what they're doing is they're taking their cultural mindset of today and they're putting it back with the ancient times, which is absolutely ridiculous, because these are thousands of years ago, if you believe. So here's another scripture from the Bible saying women are owned in their property. 36:24, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession. A possession is property, a help like unto himself in a pillar of rest. Yes, women were helping. They were servants in a.
So let's stop right there. So to break down what she says, she was like, the problem is people looking at it as today mind. And, I don't know what's in her head, but I guess you're trying to say as today women are seen more as people. And she's saying back then they wasn't. So she's saying when people look at the Bible, they looking at it as today mind. And that's where they erring at. And then she goes on to read the scriptures. And actually that's what she erring at. She looking at it at her own mind and what she think, what she know was going on back then, assuming. But nevertheless, she goes on to read, let me go back a little bit. He that's get a wife begin a possession. Now, this is when it come back to what she said, looking at it as a carnal mind. And that's what she doing. She looking at that word possession and what that word possession today mean. And she's putting it with her earthly mind, or trying to get an understanding. A possession, that's a bad thing. People are not possession. Well, you don't understand that when you go to work, that them hours that you work, you are those people property. You are their possession. They get to tell you to do this or do that. Within the guidelines, as in the structures. So there's nothing new up under the sun. When people get jobs, we don't call it slavery today, or we don't call it servitude, but that's what it is. You slaving for somebody to make a wage. They were responsible for you, and while you on their clock, they got rules and regulations you got to abide by, and certain things you got to do. But nevertheless, when you have a possession, and Naphtali, she explained this perfect. When you have a possession, that's yours. You protect that thing. You love that thing. That's your pride possession. A woman was a man's possession. It was his prize, his thing that he loved and he protect, that he was gonna take care of. So a lot of times they look at it in a bad sense and in a wrong sense. And that's where the error come in at. So a lot of times they just look at it with a corner mind. They see words like possessing and own. And because of what these words mean to us today, it got a negative connotation to it. So their mind go negative, and that's not the way it is. It says, "And a help like unto himself," meaning that this woman is going to be a help to him, just like he's able to help. She's going to be the same type of help, and a pillar of rest. That's a good thing when somebody can be your pillar of rest. But and you're gonna hear her kind of injecting and kind of putting stuff in there. It should not be like saying sex when and saying stuff mean have sex when that's not what the scriptures say. So when it says a help like me, she's a help like me. She's a helper. She's a slave, you know. But nah, she's just a helper. She's there's there's a good thing to be a helper. It's a good thing to be wanted, to be needed. I need your help. I want your help. Hopefully, I deserve your help. Help me. A woman's there to help her man. And that's a good thing. And also, that by doing this, by being her helper, she's his pillar of rest. He's where he can find rest at in her. So just looking at this scripture and saying, "Oh, he get a wife, he begin a possession. Oh, she's his possession," and looking at this scripture and this what they do. Even when the Most High got something good to say, when your mind is carnal, you will look at it and you will make it something ugly and nasty. And people despise the Most High word. And we see an example of somebody taking a beautiful word of the Most High and making it ugly and despising it. But let's continue.
Another scripture from the Bible saying women are owned in their property. 36:24, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession. A possession is property, a help like unto himself in the pillar of rest. Yes, women were helping. They were servants in a sense.
And a possession is not necessarily property. It's something you own, something that belongs to you. This is my possession. I would hope my wife would see me as hers, as her possession, something that she's owned, something that is hers, something that belongs to her. So he says when when a man get a wife, he begin his possession. He starts getting things that belong to him. So once he get a wife, then both of them can build, they can get things. But that's his first prized possession is his wife. And you're gonna see how she just chopped these strips right here. She just gonna mess it up completely.
Slave girls sold into slavery. Let's get into some of these great stories because it's not just in those few stories that I have been using because I'm trying to be really careful with people, but I need to show the truth of the Bible.
Don't be careful, just show the truth.
If a man sells his daughter to be a maidservant, yes, men sold their daughters in ancient times. This is in the Torah. She shall not go out as the men servants do. That means if he sells his daughter, she can't just leave like the men servants do. If she please not her master, I wonder what they mean by please not, just washing dishes and picking cotton? No, sexually. Who had betrothed her to himself. He betrothed the slave girl to himself, you see? He's having sex with her. Then shall he let her be redeemed. And it goes on and it says, by the way, then he passes her on. I'm paraphrasing, but you can read it right here. He passes her on to his son. And once his son starts having sex with her, he can't have sex with her anymore because that's against Torah for you to have sex, you and your dad to have sex with the same woman. Why did I?
Wait a minute. Let's bring this back because, oh boy. Let's bring this back. All right, let's break it down in the proper context. Okay, it says if a man sell his daughter as a prostitute, nah, as a maid servant, somebody go out and do work. So yeah, a man serve his daughter and also sons into servitude or slave. As when you hear the word slave, you think of chattel slavery, what America did to us. But no, not that type of slavery. It was work. No different than today when your child get up in A's and you send your child out to go and work for somebody and make somebody else rich. That's the same thing. Or you sending your children out where they can bring back a paycheck in your house to benefit your household. Back then, if a family was having hard times and there was a family that had money that needed help, a man would sell his daughter, or other word, uh, say, my daughter will work for you for money. And that was a called a sale change uh, for her labor. We gonna get paid, and that she would go and be they maid servant or they slave or servant, and the father would get paid, and that would benefit the family. And the sons also got put into servitude. When you first read this, it says a Hebrew man or woman that gets served in this slavery, they only can serve 7 years. So what's different about this? Now notice it says, so I just want to break it down when it's talking about selling his daughter, what the ideal is. The ideal is he's sending his daughter off to work so he can get paid because they having a hard time. So the work that his daughter do, he gonna get paid for, or it's gonna bring money in that household. And you got somebody that needed help, got help, and you got family that needed money, got money. It's no different today when you work, when you send your children off to go to work. But it says if a man sell his maid daughter, she should not go out as the male servant do. Why? See, one thing people don't understand scriptures. Of course that, but they really don't understand scriptures. When in old time there was no chapters and verses. So you had to read with comprehension. And right here, you got a period. So most people stop right there, but that's not and you got to remember, but then it didn't have no period, no commas. So a lot of places where it got periods and commas, where we stop at, we shouldn't be stopping so we can get a better understanding. So we know that the male servant and the woman's in the woman servant both have to serve for 7 years. Well, what made this so different? Why this woman should not go out different? Because it's under a different situation. And this is the situation. She should not go out as the manservant do if she please not her master who has betrothed her to himself. So she should not go out like the male servant do if the slave master or the worker that she was working for marry her. If this maid servant is working and he's uh find delight in her, and there was laws behind that, especially if she was a virgin. He had to pay the dowry and he had to go to the father and blah blah blah. If everything worked out, she said yes, the family said yes, and he married this slave girl. That's why she should could don't. That's why she can't go out like the male servant. She can't just wait after 7 years and say okay and walk out on the man, because now they married. We are together forever. This is not even though you came in as a servant, you're not a servant no more. You can't just leave when your time is up. You got to stay because we are together. So that's why she don't go out like the male servant if she does not please her master who has betrothed himself to her, who has betrothed her to himself. So if she don't please him, she don't go out like the male servants do. Well, in sense that say like once again, 7 years, you on the 7 year you get set free. She started working with this man, and in the first year he married her. 2 years later, he wanted to divorce her, but he still want her to work the other years that she came into slavery. No, she's not a slave. She don't go out like that no more. So this is what he have to do to her. Then he should let her be redeemed. He should let her be redeemed. To sell her to a strange nation, he should have no power. So he cannot just sell her, even though she was his servant and he married her. Once he get tired of her, don't like her, he cannot just sell her off to somebody else. Seeing that he has dealt deceitfully with her. The scripture said he's dealt deceitfully with her. So he cannot just, he have no power to just sell her off, even though she came in as a slave. She's not a slave no more. She's your wife. So no, she don't go out as the male servant do. And she don't have to complete her 7 years, because if you is not pleased with her after she done came in to be your servant, and you marry her, and now you're not pleased with her, she don't have to complete those 7 years that she's supposed to complete. You just let her be redeemed. And you can't sell her to somebody else. You have no power to, because you work deceitfully with her. You didn't keep your word. When you marry somebody, you're supposed to be with them, continue to be with them. Now, notice this not just talking about a normal marriage. It's talking about if you marry a slave, or a maid, a servant. It goes on to say, and if he have betrayed her to his son, this is not him passing her to his son. This is a different situation. This if he does not marry her, but he's working, and this slave girl is working for him, and he said, you know what, you're a beautiful young lady. I like the way you cook. I like the way you work. Do you want to marry my son? And of course, if she's a virgin, he had to pay the dowry, and he had to go to the father. And if all parties agree, she would marry his son. So she would, and that's what he says that she would, his son, he should deal with her after the manner of a daughter. So she's no longer considered a slave girl. She, even though she came in as a slave girl or a maid servant, once he give her to his son, he got to look at her as a daughter, as a daughter-in-law. He can't just look at her as a servant or a slave no more. And guess what? And if that son of his, if he takes him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage should not be taken away from him, from her. So if he get another wife, let's just say, I don't know, they was having sex 3 times a week, and she was eating good every day, and every other week he was buying her new clothes. Just because he get a new wife, he don't supposed to stop doing none of that. And if he do, guess what? If he does not do none of these three to her, then she can go free without money. That means she ain't got to pay nothing to be free. Even though she came in as a slave girl, she ain't got to complete no 7 years or none of that. If he don't fulfill his duty as a husband, and keep up with what he's supposed to be doing when it comes to giving her clothes and food, and it says her duty of a marriage, I was consumed, that's, sex or pleasing her, that's the duty of a marriage. If he get another woman, he all his time is to this other woman, and all his money to this other woman, and he don't treat her the same. This is not talking about every marriage. It is talking about if you marry a slave girl. This is what this slave girl can do. She can leave and don't have to pay a thing. And this is why you got to understand that when men's had multiple women's back then, they had the money to do it. That's why it says if he get another wife, that he had to be able to keep up with the food, her clothes, and he still had to provide those things without failure. It wasn't that, oh, I got another wife, so I gotta cut back on giving you this and that because I gotta take care of both of y'all. That's why most of the men back then that had multiple wives, they was wealthy. Instead of today's men where they just Oh, I can have multiple wives, but I want me 2 or 3. But don't even got the money to take care, as the old folks say, ain't got a pot to piss in or one to throw it out. Can't even take care of yourself, but want multiple women. But nevertheless, this is what this was talking about. And she's making like, that this woman is just getting passed from man to daughter, and they just having sex with her and having their way with her, and she's ain't got no. It's crazy how she just, corner mind. This is not near what this is talking about. So more likely it'll be a part 3. I'm gonna break down more of this nonsense. Till next time, Shalom.